Beneath the biting chill of a late-year winter, James's small farm had become a place where love blossomed between him and Diep. Despite the barriers of wealth and a painful past, yet as James's father silently watched from the shadows, setting Diep a harsh test, the ghosts of the brutal days under Powell began to resurface in her mind. While Lynn's understanding and James's unwavering love lit a beacon of hope, the looming question remained: could Mr. Tongue ever accept her? In episode 25, we wonder if their love is strong enough to overcome family prejudices, or if it will shatter beneath the pressure from a powerful father. Early that morning at James's farm in Tanmin village, the December cold blanketed the fields. A thick fog draped over the golden corn rows that Diep tended every day. With temperatures hovering around 3°C, the chill seeped through her patched-up thin jacket, making her cracked, trembling hands unsteady as she carefully sliced each ear of corn. Dewdrops clung to the leaves like tiny jewels in the soft, pale dawn. Her bare feet, shod in worn-out rubber sandals, scuffed on the moist earth, their faint sound blending with the whistling wind through the tall cornstalks and the distant chirps of sparrows. Diep gazed out over the endless field of robust corn, a testament to countless days of tireless labor, and felt both a flicker of pride and a lingering uncertainty about her own worth. A poor girl, once sold into slavery and shrouded in the darkness of humiliation, she thought, "This is James's farm," her heart warming as she recalled the man who had pulled her from the bleak life under Powell, the cruel husband who tormented her for 5 long years. But almost immediately, painful memories surged back like a freezing gust. A drunken Powell bellowing, "You're only fit to be a beast of burden. What use is learning?" Tearing apart the old notebook she'd rescued from a pile of trash, his fists falling like relentless rain, and the razor-sharp words of Mrs. May, his mother. "Worthless. If you can't bear children, get out." Clenching her knife, Diep's silent tears merged with the cold dew as she vowed with trembling determination, "I must push forward, so I won't let James down." She continued harvesting the corn, each ear dropped into a battered bamboo basket, like a promise that her past would no longer drag her down. A few miles away, in a modest hotel in Tanmin town, Mr. Tongue, James's father, sat in a luxurious room. The light from a crystal chandelier cast sharp highlights on his weathered face, revealing deep wrinkles that bore witness to years of struggle, from poverty to affluence. Fresh from a long business trip, he wore an expensive black suit that perfectly fit his broad frame, yet his hands trembled slightly as he thought of James, the son he'd nurtured for 28 years, now in love with a poor, uneducated girl with a troubled past. Retrieving his phone from his suit pocket, his deep, commanding voice filled the quiet room. "Hello? Yes, please have someone keep an eye on my son." His assistant, her voice trembling under the pressure, asked, "Yes, sir. But why aren't you home? Why are you staying at a hotel?" Mr. Tongue snapped, "This is my business. Just handle the assignment and don't ask questions." "Yes, sir," came the hurried reply. After hanging up, his icy gaze swept over the foggy window, looking down at the narrow road leading into Tanmin village. A flicker of unease mixed with contempt rose within him. A poor girl selling corn at the market. How could she ever be good enough for James? He had struggled his entire life to secure his son's future. He could not let him choose the wrong partner. Memories of his own starving days, when his mother lay dying on a hospital bed with blurry eyes, pleading for help, and he had no money for medicine, cut into him like a knife, hardening his resolve so that James would never repeat his mistakes. At a small cafe near the farm, James sat across from Tuan, his longtime friend and business partner. Soft light from a wooden window illuminated James's determined face and the passionate gleam in his eyes. The modest cafe, nestled amid the fields, had a roof of dry leaves that creaked in the wind, and the cracks in its earthen walls told stories of time gone by. The rich aroma of black coffee mingled with the damp, earthy scent drifting in from the nearby fields. Clad in his heavy grey coat still dusted with the farm's soil, James's eyes sparkled as he discussed business with a determined warmth in his deep voice. "Today I'm heading out to harvest corn at the farm. I heard you have a vacant plot available." Tuan, wearing a dark green jacket faded by time and weather, nodded while cradling a steaming cup of coffee. "That's right. The rice yields were so poor I left the field fallow. Now I'm focusing on fruit trees. Oranges, grapefruits, tangerines, which are easier to manage and more profitable." James's gaze drifted out the window toward the distant fields. "Is the plot spacious?" Tuan replied confidently. "About the same size as the one you saw last time, around 3 to 4 hectares. I'm planning a short-term food project. Water spinach, cabbage, mustard greens, lettuce. Clean and safe, just as an experiment. If it works, it won't just bring me income. It might change farming practices for our people and help them break free from low-pest rice. Smiling, James set his coffee down and said, "That's a great idea. I'd like to lease it for 5 years. What's your price?" After a moment's thought, Tuan, his eyes drifting over the fields, said, "My entire farm is 6 or 7 hectares, but I'm renting out only half. For a friend, I'd say 250 million VND for 5 years. How does that sound?" James nodded, his eyes lighting up with agreement. "Reasonable. Are you free this afternoon? I'd like to check the water supply." Tuan grinned kindly. "Absolutely, I'll show you. The water comes from a stream, up there. Solid all right." As they continued discussing the hardships of rice farming and ways to improve local livelihoods, James's thoughts drifted to Diep. "I wonder how she's faring in this bitter cold." Diep strapped her basket of corn onto her old bicycle and pedaled hard along the rough dirt road leading to the town market. The small pebbles clattered under her wheels with a dry, staccato rhythm, blending with the whistling wind as it swept through the roadside trees. The cold numbed her hands, the cracks in her skin stinging even more in the piercing chill. Yet her gaze remained fixed ahead, where the soft glow of the market emerged through the bustling central market, filled with the lively energy of year-end celebrations, featured stalls draped in shimmering threads of sequins under weak sunlight, with streaks of red, yellow and blue dancing in the breeze, a promise of a hopeful new year. Laughter and cheerful chatter mingled with the calls of street vendors and the steady rhythm of footsteps on red clay. Parking her bike in a familiar spot beneath an ancient banyan tree, Diep carefully set her basket down and asked a nearby vendor, "Excuse me, may I sell my corn here?" A kindly middle-aged woman with warm brown eyes, busy tying a bundle of water spinach, looked up and smiled. "Of course. You're welcome to sell here." Di nodded in thanks, arranging her ears of corn on an old, worn tarp. The fresh, sweet scent of the corn soon attracted curious glances from passers-by, their eyes lingering on the plump golden ears. "How much is it?" an elderly woman rasped, examining an ear with faded yet delighted eyes. 10,000 dong per kilogram, Diep replied softly, her voice steady despite the chill tightening her throat. The woman bought 2 kilograms, fumbling through her old cloth bag to pull out crumpled bills, and then smiled warmly. "These are beautiful. You clearly take great care of them. They must be sweet." Grateful for the compliment, Diep accepted the money, a small warmth kindling in her as she thought of James, the man who had transformed her life with his gentle strength and patience, who had even taught her to read words like corn, water, and plant. A fragile worry fluttered in her heart. Am I truly worthy of him, a poor girl who was once humiliated? Can I really stand by his side? Meanwhile, in his luxurious hotel room, Mr. Tung rose from a plush leather chair and walked to a large window overlooking the narrow road into Tan Min village. His eyes, cold as ice, cut through the thick fog. He picked up his phone and called his secretary in a measured, commanding tone. "How is the assignment I gave you coming along?" A hesitant but clear voice replied, "Sir, I've been monitoring the boss as you instructed. He's managing the company well, but he's now in love with a girl." Mr. Tung's brows furrowed, deep wrinkles etching further into his face. "What kind of girl?" he demanded. Cautiously, the secretary answered, "She's a good person, nothing to fault, but she's poor, from a very difficult background, educated only to the 5th grade, and she's 22. I met her yesterday. She was hard-working, selling corn at the market." Mr. Tung's tone turned even colder as he interjected, "All right, that's enough. Move her to the new company tomorrow. Don't let James know." He hung up and drummed his fingers against the window frame, his thoughts a mix of unease and disdain. A poor, uneducated girl selling corn. How could she ever be good enough for James? He had sacrificed so much for his son's success. He could not allow his boy to choose wrongly. Memories of his own starving days, the time his mother lay dying, pleading for help as he had no money for medicine, flashed in his mind like a knife twisting deeper, fueling his resolve that James must never repeat his mistakes. Later that afternoon, James drove back from the cafe toward the farm, the rough dirt road trembling beneath his wheels as the soft glow of sunset painted distant hills in gentle shades of orange and red. He stopped before Tuan's expansive field, where the cold wind stirred wild banana trees and scattered dry leaves across the red earth like a natural carpet. Tuan stood nearby and pointed to a plot of land. "This is the lease, about 3 to 4 hectares. The water comes from a stream. It's scarce in the dry season but runs strong in the summer." James's eyes lit up with curiosity. "I'd like to see the stream." They walked together up to a small waterfall. where James's muddy boots trod on the red earth and water cascaded over mossy rocks, its sound echoing softly in the stillness. Smiling, he said, "The water is excellent, rest assured. Are we still at 250 million VND for 5 years?" Tuan nodded amiably. "Yes, my friend, it's the best I can do." James agreed. "I'll take it, but I need to rebuild the banana grove. Are you on board?" Tuan nodded. "You have full control. Do as you wish." After a firm handshake that sealed their agreement, James added, "I'll be back this afternoon to sign the contract and pay the deposit," his mind drifting tenderly to Diep. "I wonder how she's holding up after such a long day." As evening fell, Diep returned from the market, her weary feet carrying her along the red dirt road as the sunset bathed her in a soft orange glow that accentuated her slender figure in her thin jacket. She paused before her modest wooden house, startled to find Haki, the little dog, absent from his usual spot in the yard, his tail no longer wagging with joyful greeting. "Haki, where are you?" she called anxiously into the quiet, her voice echoing only with the sound of the wind. Stepping into the yard, she noticed tiny paw prints in the damp soil and felt a small measure of relief. Perhaps he had just wandered off to play. Setting her basket of corn in a corner, her trembling hands clutched an old water jug as she took a small sip, the cold seeping into each breath and sending shivers down her spine. Memories of Pau surged back like a nightmare. The senseless beatings in the dead of night, Mrs. May's cutting insults that had pierced her very soul, and the day she was cast out with nothing but her trembling hands and Haki limping behind. Clenching her fists, Diep silently vowed, "I must be strong, so I won't let James down." She pulled out an old book that James had given her, reading the simple words, plant, flower, water. By the weak glow of an oil lamp, her heart warming as she remembered his gentle encouragement. "You can do this, Diep." Later, as night fully embraced the farm and the soft glow of the oil lamp spilled from the small wooden house like a guiding beacon, James entered and found Diep huddled by an old wooden table. Her face was thin and tear-streaked, her eyes red as if she had just wept. Gently, he stepped closer and said, "You're back." Diep looked up, her eyes brightening at his presence, and in a soft voice asked, "Yes, where have you been?" Sitting beside her and placing his hand on the table near hers as if to share his warmth, James said, "I went to check on the farm with Tuan. We're leasing it for a short-term project. How was your day?" Diep managed a small smile, her dry lips parting just enough to say, "I sold some corn and earned enough to buy a new watering can, but Haki still isn't back." "I'm really worried." James squeezed her hand, his warm grasp soothing her cold, trembling fingers, and replied, "Don't worry, I'll find him." "Are you tired?" Shaking her head, Diep's eyes shone with a glimmer of hope as she whispered, "Not at all. Will you join me for dinner?" James nodded, his heart filled with warmth at her resilience, silently promising, "No matter what happens, I'll never let you face this alone." Meanwhile, Mr. Tung sat in his luxurious car, his eyes fixed on the frost-covered window as the blurred landscape outside mirrored the tumult in his mind. Though the car's heater dispelled the chill from his hands, his heart remained as heavy as a stone. He thought bitterly of Diep. Hardworking, yes, but still not enough to stand by James, a poor, uneducated girl who only knew how to sell corn. How could she ever match up to his son? Pulling out his phone, he called his secretary, his voice icy as he inquired, "Have you met her yet?" A hesitant reply came, "Yes, sir, I bought some of her corn today. She's hardworking, kind, and very down-to-earth." Mr. Tung's tone turned even colder as he snapped, "I'll meet her myself to see if she's worthy. Prepare to leave. I need to see her tomorrow in person." He hung up, his heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and disdain as he silently wondered what he could do to stop his son from making a grave mistake. In episode 26, Diep's insecurities deepen as her love for James grows, while Mr. Tung imposes an even greater trial upon her. James is determined to protect her, but can their love overcome the weight of family prejudice? Stay tuned to find out.
Không thể chìm vào hố sâu cảm xúc, cô thức dậy quyết định bắt đầu ngày mới bằng công việc quen thuộc nấu ăn cho Haki chăm sóc vườn. Khi ngọn lửa trong bếp nhỏ bùng lên, cô nhìn vào đó tưởng tượng con mực giam hiện ra giữa những tia sáng nhảy múa. Cô nhớ đến giọng nói trầm ấm của anh, cách anh kiên nhẫn đến bên cô một ngày trong bóng tối, nhưng rồi cứ với lời từ chối hôm qua lại hiện về sắc nhọn như một nhát dao. Mình đã nói anh ấy không nên yêu mình, nhưng anh ấy đã thật sự rời đi. Mình sẽ sống như thế nào đây? Nỗi sợ mất anh trộn lẫn với sự không xứng đáng khiến cô đứng lặng hồi lâu quên cả việc khuấy nồi cháo đang sôi. Trên con đường mòn dẫn vào rừng, Diệp mang theo chiếc gùi tre bước đi với ý định hái đu đủ để bán. Công việc này không chỉ giúp cô kiếm tiền mà còn là cách để cô tạm quên đi những suy nghĩ hỗn loạn trong lòng. Nhưng khi cô dừng lại bên cây đu đủ cao vút, một bóng dáng bất ngờ xuất hiện từ phía sau giật mình. Diệp đi đâu về đấy? Giọng nói vang lên.